Hello, my beautiful people. Thanks so much for stopping by my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Grady and I'm the counselor and transformational coach at Butterfly Project. So I can't believe that we're already into March. The year has just gone by so fast. January and February just went by super fast. And yeah, like I said, I can't believe that we're in March already. So today I wanted to talk about New Year's resolutions, even though the New Year, resolution time, I guess, has passed. What I wanted to talk about is something that I share with all of my clients, and something that I do for myself as well. And I did do a video about this that I can link up here. But when we're doing New Year's resolutions on January 1st, if you are especially in the Northern Hemisphere, here's the thing, and for everybody else in the world, if you've celebrated, any holidays in December, and even if you don't, there's a lot of changes, a lot of time off work, or if you're in the retail industry, maybe you're working a lot more. And, there's a lot of celebrations and, your sleep cycle usually is getting thrown off and you're not eating the same way. We're indulging. And in the Northern Hemisphere, we're going into, the deeper part of the winter, and there's, New Year's celebrations and all these kinds of things. And we're just not on the regular routine. So our sleep patterns are disrupted, our nutrition, probably, our fitness as well. Work, just everything's all over the place. So I always tell my clients, January is like that reset month, okay? It is the month to just kind of recover, recuperate from all the, festivities. And it's not really the best time, especially in the Northern Hemisphere. January and February is like hibernation months, right? Like that's when we're deep in the winter, and usually people like to go away during that time of year. And so it's not really the best time to be setting, New Year's resolutions. I mean, we can set them, but, executing them, right? And so I always share that it's a good thing if we can kind of wait a little bit. So using January as just a recovery month, just to get back into neutral, what normal is for you, what, a normal sleep routine is, and work routine, and, fitness and nutrition, all these kinds of things, right? So just getting back into, a regular routine, back into the swing of things. And then February, it's that deep freeze, right? So it's the month that is really good to kind of do a lot of hibernating, introspecting, figuring out, what it is that you want for the year, your goals, things like that. And then March seems to be the time, this is when spring is just around the corner. Maybe the weather gets a little better. We're starting to get a lot more daylight time. We've, recovered from all the, holidays and festivities and that. We're starting to come out of that deep freeze in the Northern Hemisphere. And so this seems to be the time that it's almost like this is the new year. And for a lot of companies, actually, their fiscal year ends either at the end of February or end of March, and then they begin a new year. Most are beginning it, on March 1st. That seems to be a really classic fiscal, year, March to the end of February. And there's a lot of, cultures and religions. I know with the pagans and things like that, that they actually say that the new year starts on March 1st. That's actually not on January 1st, because it just doesn't make sense to dive into things, in January after all the festivities and trying to get back to normal. And in the Northern Hemisphere, we're tired. We're in that hibernation mode. It's just not, it doesn't go with our pattern or the cycle of the seasons and the cycle of, the planets and the universe. It just doesn't really follow that same pattern, right? And also our body clock, the rhythm that we have in our bodies that is natural, that goes along with, the universe, right? Like the sun and the moon and the seasons and all those cycles. And so it just makes, kind of natural sense for us to start the new year on March 1st. So that's why I'm talking about New Year's resolutions. If you can kind of apply this really takes a lot of the pressure off in January and February, and, really gives you a better foundation to be able to implement all of your goals, and, your resolutions, and to actually be successful at them. Okay. So, I know I had talked about, before in that video, that maybe February we could do it, but in the Northern Hemisphere, especially, February is like the deep freeze. So it's really not the month for us to be like jumping into like new things. It's a really good planning month. It's a good preparation month for us to start thinking about the rest of the year, and what it is that we want to be able to accomplish. Okay. And when you do it this way, you'll have a lot more energy to be able to go into, doing these resolutions and to achieving your goals. Okay. So if you haven't spent February kind of preparing, that's okay. Spend this time, over the next week or so, and, start thinking about, and you probably have thought about, goals and things. Maybe there were resolutions that you tried and it just didn't work out. Just think of this as like a reboot, a restart. We can start at any time. I always do this with, the beginning of every month. Sometimes we fall off track, and so it's always good to kind of, check in the beginning of every week or the beginning of every month. It's a great way to look at it like a new start, a fresh, clean slate, right? Each and every day should be a clean slate. Each and every week should be a clean slate, as well as each and every month and every year, and so on, right? So hopefully you can, think about the things that it is that you want to implement, the goals that you have for yourself. And in every area of your life, right? We don't want to just look at, finances and career. We don't just want to look at, our health, or relationships, or whatever it is, personal growth and development. Maybe it's learning. We want to look at all areas of our life. So this is a really great time. I am also doing this myself. This is like the new year for me. And I've been really spending a lot of time in January and February kind of planning, especially towards, the end of February here. I've been doing a lot of planning on what it is that I want my goals to be for the rest of the year, and what it is that I need to do to implement them, right? And so we want to break it down into bite-sized pieces. We don't want to just charge, full head in. But we do want to look at things, like what's your sleep like? What's your nutrition like? What is your fitness like? What's your finances like? What is your goals for personal development and growth? Maybe it's spirituality, maybe it's career, maybe it's a business, maybe it's your creativity, right? So I also like to come up with a word as the theme for your year, or maybe it's a phrase or a couple of words, but just to kind of signify what the theme for the year is, because it seems like every year is always different, right? And this just keeps us on track. We do want to, have goals for every area, but sometimes there's one particular area that maybe needs a little bit more attention, or maybe we want to, succeed in a little bit more. Could be a few different areas, right? But kind of like the theme, for the year is something good to, come up with, and then break down all your different goals, different areas, and what would you need to do, to get to that goal at the end of the year, breaking it down into every month, and then what do you need to do to break down that month into every week, and then for that week, what would you need to do every day? And we want to slowly implement this, right? So March is a really great time to just, kind of start to get the traction going, right? Start to implement all of these things for your goals. Don't dive head first in, right? We don't want to do that. But if you can, I'm just thinking of, people that do like the belly flop when they jump off into the pool, right? So we want to make sure that we're doing this slow and steady, because as you know, slow and steady wins the race, right? We don't want to rush into things. So what do you need to start implementing? right? So let's say if you're dealing with health, maybe you want to start looking at, your sleep routine, right? Maybe you need to get up earlier. If you've heard of like the 5 a.m. club and things like that, maybe you want to get up earlier. Maybe you want to take advantage of as much of the, daylight as possible. Maybe, you have family and children and things like me, so you want to get up earlier so you get a lot more done before everybody else gets up. There's something really beautiful actually about, when there's the silence in the home and nobody's up yet. And I absolutely love coffee and having that quiet time and doing all your different, self-development things that, I teach all of my clients, right? And, the morning routine, things like that. So it's a really great time, to kind of get things done, to be able to get, the proper nutrition, planned out that you have for your day. And, maybe it's doing your exercise and it's working on, self-development, your affirmations, spirituality, whatever spiritual practice, you have in place. Maybe it's doing meditations and yoga and, it could be listening to music and all these different things that you're doing in the morning before you have to start your day, right? Before you have to go to work or get the kids off to school or whatever it is that you're doing. And so when we're doing this, starting to implement these things, we're thinking about all these things and we're kind of mapping it out. So March is a time to map it all out and start to implement these things. If you want to get up earlier, that means that every day we're going to try to get to bed earlier. We're going to force ourselves and push ourselves, right? Because remember, everything is a choice. And I think I said this in one of my videos, but there's this ancient proverb about one day or day one. So is it going to be one day you're going to do these things, or is this going to be day one? So this is a great time to say, enough, I'm going to make it day one. And so we're going to do it incrementally. So every day we're going to push ourselves. No, I got to go to bed earlier so I can get up earlier. Or maybe it's I got up earlier and so now I'm more tired and I'm going to go to bed earlier, and we're going to start a completely different cycle. It's a choice, you guys. You make a choice and then you do it, right? That's pretty much how it is. Everything is, effort, right? And whatever it is that we put effort into is how we're going to receive from that. We're going to get, benefits from that. So implement those things incrementally every single day. Start implementing it. Maybe it's your nutrition. Start looking at, different ways that you can cook, and, maybe it's batch cooking, and what are you going to, maybe do menus for each week and start coming up with your grocery lists and all these kinds of things, just prepping and starting to implement these things. And then by the time April comes around, you're full swing into it. And then the rest of the year will be so much more productive. When we do things like this with a lot of kind of planning and slowly implementing it, this is why large corporations do this when they're rolling out like a new program or something like that. There's a reason behind doing it this way. So take March as the month to start, implementing these things, planning these things out, mapping out these things for your goals, for whatever it is that you are trying to, create in your life, whatever you're trying to, develop and succeed in your life. This is the month that you want to start doing it and utilize everything at your disposal, right? So for instance, like the daylight, extra daylight, try to use as much of that as possible to your advantage. Having a little bit more energy. The weather is not so cold, so we're not trying to hibernate, fully. Like, springtime, it's you start to feel that, I want to do things. And that's actually why a lot of cultures, will start the new year on March 1st. So this is a great month for you to start your New Year's resolutions, start to implement them, and work towards your goals. All right, my loves, that is what I wanted to share with you today. Hopefully this was helpful for you. Don't forget to do all the things like this video, comment down below, share my video and channel with others, share this video with anybody that you think it might be helpful for. I truly appreciate any of these things that you all do. It really is the best way to support me, to help my channel to grow, to get my messages out there. As you all know, one of my biggest passions is to help as many people as I possibly can. And if you're new here, welcome. I would love for you to subscribe to my channel and be part of this ever-growing butterfly community as well. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you get notified of new videos as I post them. And as always, you guys, I wish you all peace, love, and light. Until next time, bye-bye.